I couldn't wait. Hey, it's Romania Black. No, I actually watched episode 3 this morning. I watched episode 3 this morning and I was like, oh, well, I'll watch other things. And then I got a little bit of a headache later today, which kind of sucks. So I took some time off and I was going to watch something that would take a much longer reaction tonight. But then I was just getting over my headache and I'm like, man, if I record that one thing, it's going to take like hours and hours. So what if I just watched Mob Psycho instead? This isn't going to take me a long discussion because it usually is a long discussion anyway, but the last episode ending with that weird tree thing version of Mob and his Giga Chad mode, and how do you all expect me to wait? So, luckily I have some Reagan Thirst Update images that I didn't show in episode 3 that I am ready to whip out for this one before we start. But man, I really, this season so far, this is episode 4. We're going to be a third of the way through the season after this episode. I'm going to take a break after this one for sure, because I'm going on 2 back-to-back trips for work. So I actually have to take some time off after this episode, whether I like it or not. So hopefully it doesn't end in a horrible cliffhanger. Because then I'm going to feel bad because I have to take time off. So I'm going to be like, crap. But what can we do, right? What can we do? So I'm really excited, y'all, to dive into this episode because Dimple, there's stuff being set up with him. There's stuff being set up with Mob. The batteries are dying on everybody's phones and the signal's not working. What is happening? And so there's all this mystery. And I was like, I just can't wait. I need at least one more episode of Mob Psycho before I go on my break and then be fine, right? And then be fine. So that's what we're here to do. But before we get to that, we have the Reagan Thirst Update. And we have 4 amazing entries. Like I said in the last video, there's been some new members in the Discord that have been sharing some amazing art. And I'm really excited by that. I mentioned Cade art in the last video reaction, and their beautiful drawings of Reagan and Sarazawa that I'm obsessed with. Well, there was a third one added to the mix that I didn't show last week. And so starting us off, bless you, Cade art, because this image of Reagan and Sarazawa and Dimple, all 3 of them cheering Mob on as he runs across the bridge with the other kids in the marathon. I only imagine that this is like next year, like Mob's 3rd year in middle school, and they're all at the marathon again, and Reagan and Sarazawa are together cheering him on, and Dimple's there too. That's my pipe dream, right? I absolutely in love with that. And Kadar, we understand you're showing us the booty shots, the booty shots of Sarazawa and Reagan. We see those jackets flying up just a little bit. We're not blind. That's such a good piece of artwork. I really, really like that. I also really like this really cute image of Ritsu, and he's like making Teru fly upside down with his psychic powers, and he has like the little candy. Or is that Sarazawa and Reagan? That might actually be Sarazawa and Reagan. Oh my god, I thought it was Ritsu and Teru, but no, I'm wrong. I pulled this up being like, oh, that's cute, it's Ritsu and Teru. We don't get a lot with them as a ship. No, it's baby Reagan and baby Sarazawa. And Sarazawa's using his psychic powers to make Ritsu go upside down. Because he has the umbrella. That's freaking adorable. I actually like that a lot. So see, all of these pieces. I thought for a second that 3 out of the 4 would be a Reagan Thirst Update, but no, all 4 of them are going to be Reagan themed. So, nice. This one, Kiri shared it, and this is actually my desktop right now. So dumb. It's somebody made Reagan, and they just made his tiny little head and this big ass body on him. And if you go to Twitter and you find that and you click on the second image, that's the one you can save as your desktop. That's my desktop right now. It's the funniest damn thing. I laughed so hard. I was like, it's so stupid, but I really like it. So, last fall I had Mob playing the guitar as my desktop for a while, and then I had a Bungo Stray Dogs image for a while that was my desktop, but now this one, I'm like, since we're on the final season of Mob, I'm like, it only makes sense to have a Mob-themed desktop for a while, and this one of Reagan made my day, and so, yep, that's my new layout. So, Kiri, thank you. I laugh every time I turn my computer on. I'm like, just like, it's so funny. And then finally, D. Martins shared this in the Discord. I freaking love this artist and their rendition of Serizawa and Reagan. It's from Tumblr, and it's the Spirits and Such Consultation Office After Hours. Just the line work, the black and white line work and the use of lighting is gorgeous. But just like the different shading and everything, like it's Serizawa and Reagan going out to eat. It's them with like their sleeves rolled up for the ramen. And then it's them like falling asleep with Reagan on his head on Serizawa's shoulders as they like ride the bus back. That bliss, it's just, that's my jam. That romantic stuff, I love it. So that was so good. So thank you, D. Martins. Thank you, Kiri. Thank you, Wim. Thank you, others, for sharing this artwork this week. I really appreciate it. So something else I'm really appreciative too before we start is that on Patreon, I have 3 levels, 3 tiers of Patreon that people can choose from if they so wish to be kind and do so. The first is the $1 tier for Discord access, for access to the polls. We are actually going to do a poll to replace Mob Psycho at the end. That's going to be Patreon only. So if you're a patron, pay $1 for a month, you get access to the Discord and you get to vote in the polls to help choose the replacement of this amazing series. We also have a $5 tier, so you can go ahead and see next week's episode if you wanted to, and episodes a week early for the month, and also get Discord and also get polls. But I also want to give a special shout out to our philanthropy tier, who are people who are just really super nice and kind and just give a little bit extra each month to help me keep doing what I do. I greatly appreciate it. So our philanthropy tier for this month are Edgar, Dana, Larry Manning, Truck, Tyrone, and Kenny. So thank you guys so much for all that you do. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, I'm really excited, y'all. I don't know what we're going to do. I know there's going to be a damn cliffhanger at the end of this episode. I can already tell. I just, walking into this, I'm like, one more episode for today. And I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get in there and then it's going to be a cliffhanger and I'm going to have to wait a week, like you all, to watch the next episode because I'm out of town. So I chose this fate. I chose this fate and now I have to deal with it. So we'll just see what happens. But yeah, we're going to watch Mob Psycho, Season 3, Episode 4. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's do this, y'all. This episode was scary. I'm not a fan of I'm easily scared. I don't watch a lot of horror movies because anything that's like such an uncomfortable situation like that, like gore and violence, I can sit through most of anything like that. As far as that goes, I'm good. But scary stuff like this, where it's just like it makes your skin crawl. You're like, no. Especially when like everybody gets brainwashed and you're like the only one in the scenario that's not brainwashed. That's like a nightmare. And so Mob being the only one potentially that isn't brainwashed, other than Teru, of course, thank God, hopefully Teru's okay, is just terrifying. So I'm like, no! But is Reagan brainwashed? I guess he is, but when did he get brainwashed? He didn't eat the candy. So, or was he getting Mob to take care of the situation? But no, he wouldn't want Mob to do it by himself. So, when did he get brainwashed? Serizawa, we've not seen him at all. So it's either going to go 2 ways with Serizawa. I feel like it's going to go 2 ways with Serizawa. If Serizawa, I guess it could go 3 ways. If Serizawa's brainwashed, I could see him being used by Dimple as like a measure to keep Mob from destroying the tree. I don't think it's that one though. I think that one's the least of the worries. I think it's either 2 things. Either one, Serizawa is going to come and help Mob in against Dimple because that's where he's headed, or 2, Serizawa is going to sit this entire arc out and he's going to be at his remedial studies this entire time, and then he's going to come out and be like, did something happen? And then we're going to be like, damn it, Serizawa. But this episode was a nightmare. Why did I agree to watch this right after 3? So obviously it's Dimple. Dimple's using this form. He's made this form out of the tree stuff to be Mob. Of course Dimple has. Why are we not surprised? I'm glad the stuff with Teru was the freakiest shit. Like the Ritsu stuff was scary. I didn't like that at all. But the stuff where Teru like ate the biscuit was instantly like, oh, praise Helmet Sama. I was like, no! Because Teru is like a legit threat. Like Ritsu's bad enough with his psychic powers. Teru is legit scary. So the fact that psychics are affected like that by this I guess that means that Teru is like really easily hypnotized, probably. But oh man, so I'm not gonna bring my Borkun out for this one. Not gonna bring him out for this one, but we do need to go through it. What a weird and bizarre episode. What a weird and bizarre episode. The animation on this episode was beautiful, and like it getting to be like twilight by the end of it and dusk. So that was so freaky with Misato being like, oh, it's okay, I went to the seminar and we were all brainwashed. It's such a it's taking the events from season 1 with Dimple and amplifying it, because back then Dimple was on a small stage in a small little cult that he could derive energy from. And the thing is, now he's been deriving energy from this huge thing for so long that of course he's gotten all this power, and he's like put the roots in with the tree, like the broccoli roots have spread to like start sucking the souls. I keep thinking of Hocus Pocus. I think of sucking the lives out of the children of Salt City. I can think of Hocus Pocus in this. That's all I could think of. I was like, oh my God. And Mob finally decides to take matters into his own hands. So yeah, this episode was so freaky, like just the tension and just like, it was like a zombie apocalypse sort of scenario. So scary how it's been going on, and the little crumbs of it leading up. Like, of course, Dimple would take a page from Reagan's book about marketing and branding. And it's a shame Dimple isn't like, not trying to become a god and brainwash a city, because Dimple's got some great branding strategies. He could really do something with that. Him and Reagan could paint the town red, and make a lot of money. But oh my gosh, Mob kind of being like, and Mob's gone through this thing in the last episode where he was so popular, and now suddenly it's just shoved back at him, and he's like, oh, I'm not? Okay. Like, what does he do with this, right? Oh my gosh. And just him trying to figure out what to do. And then we get the OP. Oh my gosh. Let's go past this and get back to the OP. The founder appears, Divine Tree. Of course, Divine Tree won. It's at least a 2 or 3-parter. Of course it would be. Of course it would be, right? So yeah, and then Tomei instantly being like, we're no longer the telepathy club. We're instantly the Psycho Helmet Salt middle school branch. What the hell? I like this game that Iwakawa is playing, where there's like a butterfly and a dog with a human's head and something that looks like Trigun, and then this other creature. He's like playing the game. He's like, that's stupid. So you can tell like some of these characters, and she's got the candy on the desk that she's eating. Oh my God. Oh my God. So I like that Reagan's like, has Reagan been brainwashed this whole time? Maybe. And maybe Reagan's just been resisting it on and off, because he does the same thing that Misato does at the start of the episode, where he was like, oh, well, they've got a new founder. They don't need you anymore. That's what Misato said to him. So, but it's almost like, was Misato brainwashed too? I guess she was, but is the brainwashing, what is that really? I guess, has Reagan been resisting it on and off, or what do we do with this, right? Because he tells Mob that they don't need him, which is what Misato said to him at the beginning, but she was brainwashed. So, and then he says, look at all these buildings deteriorating. So maybe Reagan's just been going off. I thought Reagan would be the stronger character, and he didn't eat the candy that he wouldn't be brainwashed, but maybe we'll get to that part of the episode. But he's like, we need to get rid of this Divine Tree, otherwise we're going to be stuck doing appraisal jobs and fixing buildings. And I like Reagan's excuses. That's not lucrative. I like Reagan's like, that type of stuff isn't lucrative. We're not going to make any money doing that. So we need to get rid of this Divine Tree. And I like that he says the roots are spreading across the city. And yeah, they're like tearing into the infrastructure. They're ruining the city, but nobody notices because they're all brainwashed, right? And Reagan's like, yeah, this thing's taking over the city. We need to get rid of it. And also, we're somewhat responsible for the Divine Tree in the first place. I like that he just casually throws that out there. We're somewhat responsible, so we might want to take in some credit. And he asks for Mob's help. And Mob, of course, is like, yeah, this thing is impinging on my recent popularity. So we need to get rid of it, right? We need to just take it out. Throughout this episode, I don't know, has there always been an emphasis on cats in this series? There is an emphasis on cats throughout this entire episode. Like, there was a missing poster with a cat on it. There was this guy crouched down the side of the road petting a cat. there was like shots of cats like aside the cracks. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's always been there. But I felt like there was a weird attention to cats throughout this episode. And maybe it's something that's going to come up later in the season that's being foreshadowed now. But I was like, why? Why is there such a keen focus on a cat in this episode? And so then, yeah, everybody's getting stuff from the divine tree. And there's parfaits, everything. It's bringing in tourists. And he says, and Teru gets the stuff with the divine tree powder, which increases vitality. And then, yeah, it instantly takes effect. And he's like, it might be a placebo effect. And then, like, yeah, he, like, instantly, I like that we get him in the dark, like, trying to throw up. And he's like, now I'm pissed off. Teru's like, because he tried to brainwash me. God, I love Teru. I am glad that he resisted Dimple's brainwashing twice. I'm like, dude, my fear is that that Mob's gonna get in the tree and Teru's gonna have lost to Dimple-sama and is gonna be brainwashed and it's not gonna be fun. I'm like, no. I was like, Mob needs to like work past it, right? But yeah, this whole thing of being Kageyama-kun. And then he's like, yes, faith, God, psycho helmet. And he's like, you're empty. And then Dimple's like, you're a pain in the ass too. I just love Teru beating him up. It's great. And the action animation. And then the moment that Teru like looked at Dimple growing and he was like, oh, like at that point I was like, okay, it is Dimple-sama that it is. Right. I love it. So yeah. So Minagishi, we get Minagishi. He's working at a florist. It's great. So the guy running the floral shop tells Minagishi he can take a break, and he notices that all the flowers are wilting. And I'm wondering, like, is the guy already brainwashed too? But Minagishi tries to take the plants out of the root. He tries to like get the root out, and he ends up maybe getting like his vitality sucked away, like some of his essence too. And he's like, Minagishi-kun? And he's like, it's impossible. So I'm wondering too if there's like a double side to this. If one is, yes, Dimple is trying to use the divine tree to gather energy to like become a god and whatnot, and he's used this like tree form of Mob because people can't see him in this as an evil spirit, so he needs a physical form, and there's nobody to possess. So if Mob's not going to help out, then he's just going to make this alter version of Mob. Makes sense. But I'm wondering if also, and it may be just Dimple, maybe Minagishi noticed that Dimple had that much energy amassed and was draining the life out of the city to try to become this god and take it over. But I'm wondering if there's like an ulterior thing, if like on the surface, yeah, it's Dimple trying to get Mob to help him take over the city, but then if there's some kind of subsequent thing happening because of what they're doing and Dimple doesn't even realize it, and Mob's like, oh hey, the real bad guy is these roots and stuff taking over, and it's not connected to Dimple at all. That's what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting for Mob to defeat Dimple, and then for them to realize that, oh yeah, the tree root stuff isn't even Dimple. It's something beyond that that's taking over. Maybe that's going to be part of it. I don't know. Or maybe Dimple knows about the tree roots. And then what's with the appearance Dimple-kun? And then, yeah, him smiling, like, I used the stems to create this. He's like, I've only had one goal. Shigeo doesn't matter. And that's to become a modern god. I love that Teru just spits on it. He's like, yeah, I didn't think I'd have to get rid of you again for a second time. He's like, that's such a lofty goal. I'm like, why, Dimple? Dimple, you were doing so good. You were helping Mob and it was so good. Like, why can't you just go back to that? Why do you have to do this? Why? And I'm like, don't you realize Mob's gonna be pissed? He's gonna be really mad when he finds out that you've brainwashed his brother. Like, stop. So we have this intermission card, which at first glance I didn't really get, but they're drawing pictures of the tulips out in art class. And then you see Mob drawing the tulips, and then one of them's drawn as Mob, like he sees himself in the tulips. So yeah, so Reagan talks to Mob about this whole thing about maybe he's like, this whole thing is just you being overconfident. Like, maybe it's nothing big. He's like, I wouldn't go around talking about it. Wouldn't go around, like, strutting your stuff and showing off your ego. And he's like, you're going to regret it in a few years. I feel like Reagan is trying to warn Mob, be like, if you show off now, you're going to regret it. You don't want to peak in middle school, right? You want to get to adulthood before you do that. And that's when Mob's just thinking like something's wrong. Something's weird. And he's like, what is your idea for destroying the broccoli? And he's like, well, I've actually thought it through. And Reagan's like, it's simple, right? And it's just like, lift it with psychic powers, carry it off, sink it into the ocean. Easy. Easy peasy. So was he brainwashed at this point? Because that plan seems a little beneath Reagan. That plan seems a little simplistic for Reagan. I feel like Reagan would have some other big giant plan. But Mob's like, we're going to need somebody to help. I like that Reagan is totally fine with getting Ritsu out of school, but he's like, we can't get Serizawa. He's in remedial studies. Reagan cares that much about Serizawa, even if brainwashed, that he doesn't want to interrupt his studies. OTP, y'all. OTP. And so I like that Ritsu, when he shows up, he's like, that seems like a rather impossible task, Mob. Mob's like, oh, no. We carried a piano together once, and that seemed impossible, but we did it together. And Ritsu's like, this is not the same as carrying a piano, carrying this giant thing. And that's when Ritsu's noticing all of the people eating the stuff. And I would think that Ritsu would have been smart enough to figure out that the candy is connected to all of this. But then again, as we saw earlier in this episode, in this season, in episode 1, Ritsu, for being as book smart as he is, he's not as street smart as you think he is. He's kind of a simpleton. Like, he's kind of like his dad a little more than he lets on. He's just cute for his age. And then Reagan tells the story about the mom that planted the watermelon and it killed off the other plants and flowers because it soaked up all of the moisture, right? He says it's probably sucking the life out of the soil. So at this point, he wasn't brainwashed, right? But he gives them all the candy and stuff, and they talk about them offering up the prayers. And Ritsu getting easily tricked into the brainwashing, in hindsight, doesn't surprise me, because even though Ritsu resisted Claw's brainwashing, he's very quick to act. So I am sad that he took so easily to being brainwashed. I am sad about that. And so, yeah, we see the cats again. Like, the cats on the outside. Something's up with the cats. It's weird. And then Reagan, what does he say there? Reagan has the thing with the rainbows. He's like, well, what does he say there? We should be on our guard. They might try to get in our way. And they might try to stop us. He's like, let's just go pulling it out quickly and get the hell out of Dodge. I love he says get the phrase, get the hell out of Dodge. That's great. But yeah, they give him the candy. And then Ritsu, God, Ritsu, why'd you take the candy? Why? And then, yeah, they all end up at the Civic Center. And there's all the creepy people. And yeah, it's very reminiscent. It's very reminiscent of Dimple when he basically brainwashed everybody. And he's like, we need the divine tree in our city. And then Reagan's like, what are you doing bringing us here? And yeah, everybody, I like Reagan, like, at that point, I didn't think he was brainwashed because they all keep running off, right? And he's like, we probably shouldn't eat this. And I thought they kept running off. And I do love that, brainwashed or not, when Mob tries to take off the jacket and reveal the shirt that he has on, Reagan's like, no, keep that on. You get higher defense. Your high school jacket has higher defense points. I would really like it if Mob took off the jacket at some point and everybody stops believing in him because of the smart monkey design that he has on. That would actually be hilarious. And so they all get cornered, and there's Judo and everybody. He's like, we heard you were planning to cut down the divine tree. I'm going to lecture you. And then they run away again. So yeah, he's like, damn it. Most of the people have become Psycho Helmet religion believers. How did this happen? How can we? And then Mob notices the other lady. And he says Psycho Helmet's an unknown psychic. We have no idea what he's thinking, let alone what his end game is. But he'll try to interfere if we go to the divine tree. Right? If he's some kind of villain, let's free everyone from their brainwashing, even if it means taking him down. But then they get closer. So at that point, it didn't seem like he was brainwashed. But Dimple like overlooking the tree, like waiting on Mob to show up. So I really didn't think that Reagan was brainwashed. I didn't think he was. But then we see them walking under the overpass. And so he asked Mob what he thinks of the Psycho Helmet religion. Do you think that they're bad guys? And Mob says, no, I don't think that they're bad people. He's like, they were just starting a group and having some fun. He's like, I didn't think that they were really doing anything bad. It just seemed like something harmless, right? But he just didn't see any need to get in the middle of it. And so Reagan's like, oh yeah, you think so too? I also think. And I think Reagan's like, yeah, I also think they're not bad. But then Mob says, but things are different since their new founder appeared. And he's like, oh. He's like, if that person is a fake and fooling everyone into worshiping them, then I don't know. I don't like how they're doing things. And Reagan's like, but Mob. So at that point, I wonder if Reagan is really brainwashed. I know he does the move that the others did too. And that's what makes Mob think that he's brainwashed, right? And that's what he makes him think too. But is he really? I wondered if Reagan was like, wait, Mob, you suggesting that they have a fake founder means that you think that there is a true founder. Do you really think you're the true founder of the religion? Is that what you think? He's like, but Mob, there was never a true founder, so how can you call him a fake? And then Mob's like, oh, and it's almost as if Mob didn't even think about it himself that way, but he was subconsciously thinking it, right? He says, are you trying to say you're the true Psycho Helmet? And Mob's like, well, no. He's like, the founder's existence was based on a false image to begin with. Yeah, the whole thing was just started. But to be fair, the whole thing was started because Mob saved those people from Dimple. So they saw Mob as their savior. So he really is, against all pretense and purposes, he is the true founder, whether he thought himself it or wanted to be, right? It's kind of just something that was kind of thrust on him, right? And he says, I don't think what did he say there? Reagan just said the founder's existence was based on a false image to begin with. I don't actually think Psycho Helmet's a bad guy. At that point, I thought he was referring to maybe he thought, if it was, he was thinking it was Dimple. Every community needs a leader. So there is some truth to what Reagan's saying. He's like, look, I didn't actually think that the Psycho Helmet guy was bad because every community needs a leader, somebody to guide them, right? He's like, that's just the way society works. It's natural to think of him as the president of a club. I'm sure he's just responsible for figuring out their group's activities. And then we see all of these, we see all these politicians' posters, and there's one that says, be greedy, which is actually hilarious. So Reagan's like, yeah, no, every group needs a leader to them, right? And making sure everything runs smoothly. He's like, I'm sure it's a tough job. But then he says, he's pulling off something you're not capable of doing. So you don't need to hold a grudge against him or anything. So that's the weird part, is like, on the one hand, is Reagan trying to realize, is Reagan really brainwashed? I guess he could be. Or is he trying, but it's like, why didn't he try to stop Mob up until now? When did it kick in? When was he poisoned? When did this happen? Come on, show. Maybe they'll tell us later. But I'm like, or is it like the longer you're around the tree, is it just being around the tree itself makes you get brainwashed? Maybe. But it's almost like either Reagan slowly got brainwashed as they got closer to the tree and tried to throw Mob off, or he realized that Mob was maybe starting to think that he could be a god because of the ego boost and everything leading up with the divine tree. And he was like, I need to get Mob away from this environment. Maybe this was a bad idea. And he's like, you don't need to hold a grudge against him or anything. And Mob's like, in the end, the one who has the most fun wins. He's like, maybe it's not a good idea to take their divine tree away from them if they need it so badly. Yeah, maybe it's as they got closer to the tree, the brainwashing kicked in. And that's when Mob's like, Master Reagan, this is just a hunch. But have you been brainwashed? And then Reagan's like, me? Oh, the use of the shadows and stuff is so creepy. It's so creepy in the moment. I'm like, no. He's like, so this is what it feels to be accused of being brainwashed when you're not. And that's when Mob's like, oh my God, it's just like this and this and this. Yeah, that part there where he's like, everyone had the same gesture. So maybe it was, that Reagan was brainwashed all along, but Reagan's such a powerful, charismatic character that he didn't realize it. It only sunk in whenever Mob was about to go do something that maybe it was the brainwashing didn't sink in until Mob was about to put himself in danger and Reagan realized it, and then the brainwashing kicked in to keep him from wanting to get Mob in danger. I don't know! But he recognizes that same gesture, and Mob's like, He says Reagan says the hearts of the citizens are more important than the city. Most of the people are already believers of the religion, so we should just respect that. And Mob being like, they even got to you too, Reagan. They even got to you too. How dare they? And I'm saying from now on, this city, this world, at that point he's brainwashed, is going to live in harmony with the divine tree and the psycho helmet religion. And then Mob's like, even my own master was taken over. And he's like, Mob, I'm not going. He's like, if I'm just mistaken, that'd be great. But that person, and that person, and that person, and that person. And he gets madder and madder. It could be that I'm the only one left in this city. Which is funny because Mob is supposed to be the masses, and now the tables have turned, and Mob's like, I'm the only one left. The only one left that can do this. That can go. And maybe that was the point. Maybe the whole point was to get Reagan close enough where the brainwashing could work. And that Mob wouldn't go up against the divine tree. And then that was what... Maybe Dimple's whole goal was to get Reagan to push him. He brainwashed Reagan so he'd go away. And leave in the end so that Mob would be the only one to go up there. So that Dimple could try to convince Mob to join him. And so Mob's like, maybe I am the only one that can stand up to him. And then him walking into the light where he's like, I'm going to go see. I want to meet with them and talk directly. And Mazzato's like, okay. And this was Mazzato's goal the whole time too, was to get Mob to get closer and become the founder. So of course Mazzato's fine with this. Mazzato wanted this to begin with. So of course she's fine with him joining the religion and everything. Of course. Oh my gosh, no. And they all make way so that their true founder can go see Dimple. I can hear the voice of Psycho Helmet Sama. Shigeo is the original Psycho Helmet. Yeah. And him just increasing. Oh my god. And they're like, amazing. The original Psycho Helmets returned. There are 2 Psycho Helmet Samas. We have 2 founders. And Mazzato, of course, wants this because she wants Shigeo to go and take his place as the actual one, right? Things are even better. And Mob's just like, no. We see Tsubomi, and she's quiet. So I'm like, Tsubomi, did you eat the candy or not? They're not going to tell us. Why would they? And the Body Improvement Club has judo in a headlock. Good for them. Oh my god. And then Mob's like saying Psycho Helmet. I'm like, I like that this entire arc is, this has been something that's been building since season 1. This has been something that's been building the entire series, is that the masses view Mob as this like deity, right? The protagonist of the world, right? And this is just like, it's taking that hero worship and applying it to the everyman, right? So it's the idea of the layperson becoming the center of the world, right? That's kind of the play that one is doing with this arc so far, is that Mob has gone from being a nobody to being the person that's being seen as like their ultimate leader. And I'm sure that's what Dimple wants, because he knows that Mob has been getting, in the last episode, he knows that Mob was getting on the high horse and was getting like full of himself. And he's like, I'm going to make this scenario to where Mob believes that, look, all the people are for you. They all love you. Why don't we rule these people together? Why not? Right? And then Mob's going to be like, I just want Mob to snap out of it. And maybe Teru can help him. Because that look he has in his eyes at the very end, it's not a look of like, I'm going to go stop Dimple and destroy the tree. It's not that look at all. It's a look of, wow, everybody's praising me. Like, he's not smiling, but he almost is. So I'm a little bit worried. I'm like, I'm a little bit worried that Mob is going to be tested and that Dimple is almost, I feel like Mob is going to be tested by Dimple and he's almost going to convince him to like be this ruler, and maybe Teru can snap him out of it. Maybe Serizawa, maybe Mob snaps himself out. I don't know. What did Ritsu say at the end when they left, though? I want to go back and see that real quick as they're running away. And Ritsu is in the darkness. He says, they're not even willing to listen. Like, what the hell, Ritsu? But yeah, that's kind of terrible. Like, Mob getting, like, the sparkle eyes. It's either he's, like, enjoying the attention and Dimple is going to nearly convince him, or he's going to be like, what the hell are we doing, Dimple? And I don't know which it's going to be. I don't know which it's going to be. Oh, my God. But yeah, this episode was so freaky. I don't know if Minagishi is going to show up to help, if there's going to be other members, former members of Claw, if they're all going to be convinced. What do we do? Is Teru going to be brainwashed when he gets there? Is Dimple going to gather Reagan and Ritsu and Teru and all try to convince Mob to be their leader and alongside Dimple? This show has this ability to make you freak out and worry. And then so far, every time we freaked out and worried, everything's ended up fine. So maybe that'll be the case here too. But I'm really nervous, y'all. I'm really nervous. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please, no spoilers. But this episode was really freaky and just made me really tense about the next episode. But hopefully, maybe things will go all right. Maybe they can just uproot the broccoli and take it to the ocean and throw it in there, or blow it up or cook it or something. Well, I guess we'll find out next episode. So, in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm just going to quietly freak out for the next week until we come back to episode 5 of Mob Psycho Season 3. Bye.